Hi, I'm Mark Gaylor and I'm a Sony Digital Imaging Ambassador. Now, I very rarely, if ever, leave home without a set of neutral density filters, and my preference is to use the fixed density neutral density filters rather than the variable neutral density filters. That's because I get extra quality when working with stills. Now, the actual choice of neutral density filter will very much be guided by the type of lenses you want to use to shoot your landscape photography. Now, if you're using Sony's 12-24 or 14mm GM primes, you are going to be committed to using quite a large filter cage because of the non-removable lens hoods on these lenses. Now, that does commit you to carrying a couple of pounds worth of glass when you're going out shooting landscape. Now, when I'm traveling, I usually travel very light. And so my preference is to work with smaller lenses that then require smaller filters. Now, there is a NiSi M75 system, and this will go all of the way up to the 67mm filter thread. So this would cover lenses such as Sony's 20mm f1.8G lens. So that's a huge weight saving and space saving in your camera bag. But my preference over the last few years has been to use even smaller lenses, which then require even smaller filters. And so the ideal systems that I've been using have been from Freewell filters. Now, they have magnetic filters, which are great, but they have never really supported the smaller lenses. The lenses that use 49, 55, 62mm filter diameters. Also, some of their filters have been going out of stock or they're discontinued. Now, this has led me to explore possibilities for using filter systems, especially magnetic filter systems that support all of my lenses, including the smaller lenses such as these ones I have here. And now Sigma and Sony do like this 55mm filter thread, and so I have now reviewed and looked at this magnetic system. Now you can see how small these filters are, and they actually come with a case if you buy one of the kits, but this is sort of oversized for me. I maybe store those filters when I'm at home, but when I'm out working, I'll basically stack these filters and then put them into a much smaller bag, maybe with a Z series batteries, and then clip that to the side of my camera bag. Now, the great things about working with a magnetic system, of course, is once you've loaded your lenses with a magnetic ring, you can choose to put them maybe say on your 11mm lens, then change your mind and put them on your 55mm lens. You can also stack them very quickly, taking them apart. The magnets are quite strong, so you're not going to actually basically shake these off the lens by just walking around. You'll need a gale force wind to remove these filters from the front of your lens. So without much further ado, let's take a deeper dive into these filters that I've been using. The filters I'll be taking a look at in this review are branded as KW Revolution filters. Now, Kase list a bunch of attributes to these filters on their website. I'll just go into a few of these that I was looking at just to make sure there was something that I wanted to invest in. First of all, no discernible color cast. When you're working with very dark neutral density filters, you do want to be sure that there is no adjustment to that color cast there. So here on the left, we've got no filter, captured at 1/320th of a second. And then I'm putting on the ND1000, that's a really dark filter. So the shutter duration now is shot up to 10 seconds, and that's 10 stops darker, no color cast that I could see at all. So yes, that one gets the tick of approval. This next one was interesting. Inlaid ring to help prevent vignetting on wide-angle lenses. Now, what does that actually mean? Basically, if you're going to put stacking multiple filters, there is a risk that you're going to clip the corners or vignette the image. Now, this is the case with Sony's FE1635, both the Mark I and the Mark II f2.8 GM lenses. It doesn't really matter how slim those filters are, you really can't stack two, because one of the rings you're putting on front of that lens is the magnetic ring. So Kase have come up with an interesting solution to this, is that magnetic can be an inlaid ring. So the front of the lens doesn't protrude just because you put a magnetic filter ring going on front of the lens. This does increase the chances that you can use multiple filters. Now, Kase supply you with a little tool there. It's a bit like a circular spanner. It just allows you to turn in that inlaid magnetic ring into the inner thread of your lens there. And so with the lenses I'm using, I was perfectly okay to stack these, and this is quite a wide angle lens I'm using. So in this particular example, I'm stacking an ND8 plus an ND64, and there was no noticeable vignetting on this particular lens. Can't guarantee that's always going to be the case with every single lens out there, but certainly the lenses that I tried were fine. Another big one for me, because I'm recommending filters to my patrons, is availability. And so I have been recommending the magnetic Freewell filters. They do only apply to the larger filter diameters, 67 millimeters and beyond. So they never really did support the smaller filter diameters. Now, because I'm recommending these to my patrons on patreon.com/Mark Gaylor, and the Freewell filters have appeared in all of my ebooks and also my accessories guide that patrons can download, I was keen to make sure that availability was still good with these Kase systems. If we take a look at B&H, the Freewell filters, if you look at that red arrow pointing over to the right, you'll see that they've actually stopped making filters, apparently, in the 72 millimeter filter diameter. This is a bit of a problem because many of the Sony lenses do actually have 72 millimeter filter threads, such as the 7200 f4 lenses, etc. Even with this 77 millimeter filter thread, there is only one available density filter. Now, admittedly, you could stack two 4-stop ND filters to get an 8-stop ND, but it's not a perfect situation. Now, if we take a look at their M2 magnetic quick swap from Freewell, you'll see there's 67, 77 and 82 millimeter thread sizes. 67 is a popular size, but there are some gaps there. As you can see, I would ideally like people to cherry pick the perfect filter size. Now, the 49, 55 and 62 were not supported by Freewell, so I was really pleased to see that Kase do support these filter diameters. In years gone by, this has meant that I've had to adapt and find ways of putting my 67 millimeter filters on top of my smaller lenses. As you can see here, I've got a 49 millimeter to 67 millimeter magnetic adapter. It did have to be a magnetic adapter for the magnetic filters to attach. I found an ingenious solution of just attaching them to a filter hood on my 50 millimeter, 40 millimeter and 24 millimeter compact lenses. So this was a solution, but again, it's not really ideal because many people will have 55 millimeter thread lenses that don't allow you to do this. Another popular filter diameter for a lot of Sony lenses, not just the APS-C lenses, but also full-frame lenses, is a 49 millimeter filter diameter, such as found on the Carl Zeiss 35 millimeter 2.8 Zeiss and the 55 millimeter 1.8 Zeiss. So I was really looking for filter systems that were also compatible with these filter diameters. Just because we're shooting landscape, we don't always use that ultra wide angle zooms or primes. In many instances, I will shoot urban landscapes from maybe 2 or 3 miles away from the city using a 7200, and that 72 millimeter filter thread is really important. If you're working without a neutral density filter, even pre-dawn, I'm actually capturing this without an ND filter, 4 seconds at f22, and I've even had to lower the ISO to ISO 50. This is far from perfect. You really don't want to be shooting at f22 if you're a landscape photographer, and 4 seconds was the maximum duration, and really I would have liked to have pushed this up longer than 4 seconds. So I would have liked at least an ND8 filter to work in this particular scenario. Going back to B&H, you'll see that many of the Freewell filters have been discontinued. Really pleased to see that Kase magnetic filters are available in multiple densities at multiple filter threads, all the way from 49 millimeters right through to a whopping 112 millimeters. They've really got you covered there. Now you might find that with the smaller filter diameters, which do tend to be less popular, you might find that they're on special order or back order, and you might have to wait 3 or 7 days before B&H would ship you those filters. Smaller lenses supported, I've already outlined that. Just in case you were wondering, I'm actually working now with some very small compact lenses. This is an APS-C 11mm. Its sharpness is amazing, and it's quite a cheap, affordable lens, and it's tiny. I've even used this on full frame cameras when I really don't want to be taking a larger 16-35 zoom with me onto location. You can see here I'm using an ND filter just to smooth the ocean down, because I don't want it to compete with the detail of those foreground rock pools there. Now there's many lenses that use that 55mm filter thread. Another really popular one that I use is the Sony's 15mm f1.4G. Again, another really premium quality APS-C lens with corner to corner sharpness. Now that has a full frame equivalent angle of view of 22.5mm. But we'll see that 55mm thread not only used on many of Sony lenses, but also Sigma lenses, such as the Sigma 90mm f2.8 DGDN and Sigma's 17mm f4. Now this is a full frame 17mm lens, so again you can work with some very small filter with this combination. Lightweight and compact. I have used these larger filter cages on the 12-24 lenses and the 14mm prime lenses, but if I can not take this 2.5 pounds of glass with me when I'm working on location, I would actually prefer to leave this type of gear at home. As you can see there, the weight measurement of 2.5 pounds, which is over a kilogram. And that's because often I'm traveling on my motorcycle. I'm working with the medium size 7L messenger bag, and if I can't get it in that 7L messenger bag, then really I am looking to take lighter filter systems and smaller lenses with me onto location. Now one of the solutions was maybe to use the M75 filter systems on the small lenses, but even that will take up enough space in the camera bag that stops me from taking one additional lens with me. Now the Kase magnetic filters, you get a lot of filters in that pouch. As you see, they're very small filters, and if I turn that on to side, they're color coded, so you can remember which filter you're putting on in low ambient light. You don't have to get out your reading glasses to read whether it's the ND8 or the ND64 that you're actually attaching. And I can actually get that in a small pouch there that goes into the camera bag or actually clips onto the outside. And you can see how small those filters are because I've got a Z series Sony battery there alongside the filters. So lens hood can be used, as I've outlined previously. That really is important to me. Sometimes I'm not shooting always the sun rising or the sun setting. The sun can be at an angle to the lens, and I really want to shield the lens from any stray light if and when possible. So I'm really sold on these Kase magnetic filters, and I've no hesitation to recommend them now moving forward to my Patreons on patreon.com. So if you've enjoyed this tutorial, remember you can catch up with me on patreon.com/Mark Gaylor. Remember, I've got all of those ebooks, but I've also got Q&A forums, member-only seminars. These are 1 and 2 hour video tutorials looking at various topics of photography. So if you've enjoyed this, just give me the thumbs up, subscribe, and maybe I'll see you over on patreon.com. Okay, I'll catch you online next time.